I couldn't believe my ears when my own mom looked at me and said, "Sophia, you just have to accept it. Men cheat, women cheat, it's life." She said it so casually, as if betrayal was something I was supposed to swallow the night before my wedding. My heart pounded, my palms were shaking, and all I could think was, what does she mean my future husband already cheated? The man I was about to marry, the one I trusted with my whole soul, had already broken that trust. And my mother wanted me to stay silent. Before I go deeper into what happened, make sure to hit the subscribe button, share this story with your friends, and turn on the notification bell, because what you're about to hear will leave you shocked. I sat there, stunned, while my mom explained she had known for weeks that my fiancé was sneaking around with another woman. She even admitted she'd caught him once, but instead of confronting him, she thought it was better for the marriage if I never found out. Her exact words still burn in my mind. Good wives look the other way. Imagine hearing that one night before your wedding. Every dream I had about love, trust, and forever felt like it was crashing down, but I didn't cry, not that night. I smiled, nodded, and pretended to agree. Inside, though, I was already planning. If they thought I was going to walk into marriage blind and weak, they had no idea what I was capable of. That night, I made a silent promise to myself. I wouldn't just expose him, I would expose both of them in a way no one would ever forget. The morning of my wedding, everyone was rushing around with smiles plastered on their faces, but I could feel the weight of the secret sitting on my chest like a stone. My fiancé, Ethan, looked at me with that same charming grin, acting like nothing had ever happened. I kept thinking, how many times did he smile at me like this after sneaking out to see her? My mom kept hovering, whispering in my ear, "Don't ruin this day, Sophia. Marriage isn't about perfection. Learn to accept." Every word felt like poison. I realized in that moment, it wasn't just Ethan who betrayed me. My own mother had chosen his lies over my truth. As the ceremony time drew closer, my mind wasn't on the flowers or vows. It was on the plan I'd carefully started building the night before. I had called a friend, someone who owed me a big favor. By morning, I had something powerful in my hands, undeniable proof of Ethan's betrayal. Messages, pictures, even a video that would silence anyone who dared defend him. When my bridesmaids came in to help me get ready, I smiled at them, but inside I was electric with anger and anticipation. Each detail, the white dress, the bouquet, the veil, felt less like symbols of love and more like weapons I could use to set the stage. I wasn't just a bride. I was about to become his worst nightmare. People always imagine wedding days as magical, filled with love and promises. But mine was going to be remembered as the day the mask fell off and the truth exploded. I could almost hear the whispers already, the gasps when the revelation hit. The only question in my head was, do I let him say his vows first, or do I cut him down before he even gets the chance? The wedding hall was packed with family, friends, and neighbors, all dressed in their best clothes, waiting for the fairy tale moment. People whispered about how beautiful I looked, how lucky Ethan was. If only they knew the truth. Every smile, every compliment felt like fuel for the fire burning inside me. As the music started and I walked down the aisle, I locked eyes with Ethan. He looked proud, smug even, like he had already won. My mother, sitting in the front row, gave me a reassuring nod as if to remind me, keep quiet, play along, be the good wife. That nod almost made me laugh. They thought I was weak. They thought I would bend. But I was seconds away from breaking them both. The officiant began speaking, and the hall went silent. Ethan reached for my hands, his grip firm, steady, as if he wasn't carrying a secret that could crush us. His confidence almost made me sick. My heart was racing, but not out of nerves. It was out of excitement. I glanced around the hall, memorizing every face, every person who would soon witness the greatest unveiling of betrayal they'd ever seen. My bridesmaids smiled at me warmly. My father looked proud, unaware of the storm about to hit. Ethan cleared his throat, ready to say his vows. For a second I considered letting him finish, letting him spill his fake promises before I ripped them apart. But then I looked at my mother again, that smug little smile on her face, and I decided, no. He wouldn't get that chance. I raised my hand slightly, interrupting the officiant. A ripple of confusion spread through the room. Ethan squeezed my hand, whispering, "What are you doing?" I just smiled, because this wasn't going to be a wedding anymore. This was going to be an execution. The silence in the room was heavy as I took a step back, my veil brushing against my shoulders. All eyes turned to me, waiting for an explanation. My voice didn't tremble. It came out sharp, steady, and filled with venom. "I can't let this wedding continue," I said clearly, my words echoing across the hall. Gasps erupted instantly. My father stood halfway, confused, while Ethan's face drained of color. My mother's smile froze, panic flickering in her eyes. Ethan leaned in quickly, whispering through clenched teeth, "Sophia, stop this nonsense. Don't embarrass us." But it was too late. Embarrassment was exactly what I had planned. I turned toward the guests and pulled out my phone. "You all deserve to know the truth," I announced. "The man standing here about to promise me forever already broke those vows long before today. He cheated, and not just once." The crowd exploded with whispers, disbelief spreading like wildfire. My mother stood, her voice sharp. "Sophia, enough. This is your wedding day. Don't destroy your own life." I laughed bitterly. "No, Mom. You destroyed my life when you told me to stay quiet. You chose to protect his lies instead of your own daughter's dignity." That hit her like a slap, and for once, she had no words. Ethan tried to snatch the phone from my hand, but I pulled back. And then I pressed play. The screen lit up, and the speakers carried the sound of his voice, laughing, flirting, whispering promises to another woman. His face on video, his lies caught crystal clear. The hall went deadly silent, except for the audio filling every corner. Guests covered their mouths, shaking their heads in shock. Ethan's groomsmen stared at him in disgust. My bridesmaid's eyes widened with fury on my behalf. Ethan stammered, It's fake, she's lying." But no one believed him, because the proof was undeniable. And for the first time that day, I felt a surge of power. Ethan's face turned red, sweat dripping down his forehead as whispers grew louder around the hall. Every eye was on him, piercing through the polished image he'd worked so hard to maintain. The video ended, but the silence that followed was even louder. I took a deep breath and raised my chin. This is the man everyone praised as perfect. The man I was supposed to call my husband. Tell me, Ethan, how many women were there? Should I count them for you, or do you want to confess? His jaw clenched, his eyes darting desperately toward my mother as if she could still protect him. But she sat frozen, her face pale, realizing her plan to keep things hidden had just collapsed in front of an entire audience. This isn't what it looks like," Ethan stammered, his voice shaky. "It was just a mistake." I let out a cold laugh. "A mistake you repeated for months? A mistake you even bragged about?" Gasps filled the room. Ethan's best man muttered, "Man, you're done," under his breath, loud enough for people to hear. Guests shook their heads, some already standing as if ready to leave in disgust. But I wasn't finished. No, the real blow was still waiting. I reached into my folder and pulled out printed screenshots, messages that revealed everything, every filthy detail. I tossed them onto the floor where they scattered at Ethan's polished shoes. The guests craned their necks, reading enough to know the truth. "You lied to me," I said, my voice cutting through the room like a knife. "But worse, you thought I would stay silent. You thought I'd be the kind of wife who lets betrayal slide. You thought wrong." Ethan tried to speak again, but his voice cracked. My father stood now, his hands shaking with rage. "Is this true, Ethan? Is this what you've done to my daughter?" Ethan had no words. He looked small, cornered, exposed, and that was exactly how I wanted him. The whispers grew into loud voices now, some laughing bitterly, others shaking their heads in disbelief. A few of Ethan's own relatives muttered, "Shameful, disgusting," loud enough for everyone to hear. His polished image had shattered like glass. I stood tall, every ounce of fear gone from my body. For years I had been quiet, the girl who kept her head down to avoid conflict. But not today. Today I owned the room. "Tell me, Ethan," I said again, my voice steady. "Did you plan to keep lying even after the vows? Or was cheating just part of your future plans too?" He slammed his fist on the table. "Enough! You don't understand." But before he could finish, one of his supposed friends cut him off with a sharp laugh. "Oh, we understand plenty. You played the victim when all along you were the villain." The guests murmured in agreement. Someone clapped slowly, sarcastically. Others followed, turning his humiliation into a public spectacle. Ethan's face burned crimson as he scanned the crowd, searching for even one ally. But no one came to his defense, not even my mother, who sat frozen in her chair, unable to look at me. I took a step closer, my heels echoing in the silence that followed. "You see, Ethan, I already knew. I've known for weeks. Every message, every lie, I traced it all. You thought you were clever hiding it, but I was 2 steps ahead." Gasps rippled through the hall again. I could see the shift. Suddenly, I wasn't the victim anymore. I was the woman who had turned her pain into power. Ethan stumbled back, sweat dripping as his voice broke. "Sophia, please. Not like this." But it was already too late. The audience wasn't on his side anymore, and I hadn't even revealed the final blow. I let his desperate plea hang in the air for a moment, the silence making him squirm even more. My heart was calm now, steady, like I had been waiting my entire life for this moment. Then I smiled, cold, sharp, the kind of smile that doesn't hide its intent. "You think this ends with embarrassment, Ethan? No. This is just the beginning," I said, my voice carrying across the hall. He blinked at me, confused, still clinging to the idea that maybe he could salvage what little was left. But I had already set the stage long before this day. "I didn't just uncover your affairs," I continued. "I documented everything. Every message, every transfer, every dirty secret you thought you hid. And guess what? I didn't keep it to myself." The crowd leaned in, eyes wide. Ethan's face drained of color. What do you mean?" he stammered. I tilted my head. "Check your emails, everyone," I announced. "By now you've all received the truth. Pictures, messages, receipts, everything." The sound of phones buzzing filled the hall like a storm. Guests started pulling out their devices, gasps and shouts echoing as the evidence flooded their screens. Ethan's betrayals were no longer whispers. They were undeniable proof in the hands of everyone who mattered. "Business partners," I added smoothly, locking my eyes on Ethan, "also received copies. So did your boss. By now they know exactly how you've been spending company funds to cover your little secrets." Ethan's jaw dropped. You ruined me," he shouted, his voice cracking. I stepped closer, lowering my tone so only he and the first few rows could hear. "No, Ethan, you ruined yourself. I just made sure the world saw it." The hall erupted in chaos, half in shock, half in exhilaration. The predator had been stripped bare, and I stood above him untouchable. And yet I wasn't finished. The final twist was still waiting, like the last card in a game he never knew I was playing. The hall was already in chaos, but I raised my hand, and the noise slowly died down. Everyone leaned forward, waiting for the final strike. Ethan stood trembling, his perfect world collapsing in front of hundreds of witnesses. "You know what's funny?" I said softly but loud enough for everyone to hear. "All this time you thought you had power over me. That I needed you, that I'd stay quiet because of shame. But in reality I was just giving you rope, and you hung yourself with it." He shook his head violently. "No, Sophia, please. We can fix this. Fix this." I cut him off, laughing bitterly. "While you were busy cheating, I was busy preparing. Do you think I'd marry you without protecting myself first? My prenup is ironclad. Every asset, every property. You lose it all. Starting today, you have nothing." Gasps swept through the hall like a wave. Ethan clutched his head as if the words themselves had crushed him. My mother finally broke her silence, whispering, "Sophia, you can't." I turned to her, my voice like steel. "No, Mom, you told me to accept betrayal, to swallow my pain. Today I choose myself. You should have raised a daughter who bows, but instead you raised a woman who fights." The crowd erupted in applause, some even cheering. Ethan stumbled back, tears forming in his eyes. His reputation, career, and wealth ripped from him in a single afternoon. I picked up my bouquet, walked past him, and said my final words without even glancing his way. Marriage was supposed to be forever. Ethan, but betrayal makes forever very short. Then I stepped out of that hall, Head high as the whispers turned into roars of admiration, the underdog had won. The cheater was destroyed, and my revenge was complete.